And welcome back to the Disney Lorcana Challenge live from Lille. My name is Baker. I'm joined by my co-host Curly, whom we've had the pleasure of commentating some of the greatest games of Lorcana over the course of the weekend, and we're not quite done yet. We just watched an incredible top 8 game between Ruby Amethyst and Ruby Sapphire, a real nail biter the entire way through. Lots of really tense top decks, and considering different lines to victory, and it was the Ruby Amethyst player that came out on top. Does that surprise you?
I think if you asked me maybe like a month or so ago, I would have been quite surprised. But as Ruby Amethyst has got a little bit quicker, we saw, I think, in particular when Ruby Amethyst went first, it was quite dominant.
Yeah. Again, it has early access to things like Stylish Surfer Mini, and apparently always questing Mini Mouse, the one drop as well. And it just goes to show, especially against a deck like a Ruby Sapphire, which wasn't playing Queen of Hearts, which is worth noting. Again, it wouldn't have mattered much against the the always classy Mini with its 3 wall power. But yeah, just having free reign over the first few turns to just quest freely. But on the opposite side of that, the Ruby Sapphire player getting access to powerful cards like Madame Medusa from turn 4 to deal with things like Stylish Surfer Mini. So yeah, I think Ruby Amethyst, it's not gone anywhere. It's still one of the best decks in the game. There are more great decks that can combat it, but Ruby Amethyst securing its top 4 finish.
Yeah, absolutely. And I've just been doing the rounds. We went to go and watch some of the games and expected them to last a little bit longer because it was an untimed round. But in fact, all the games very shortly after we finished wrapped up. We only have 4 players remaining. In fact, I've almost got caught sleeping. Here's the bracket. As we can see in the quarterfinals from the Rapunzel bracket, we can kind of see how this is all unfolded. Of course, now we're moving on into the semi-finals, but this is how the bracket did in fact look. We will try and get some confirmation for you of exactly the results of these quarterfinals. So I'm not 100% certain who took this one down, if I'm honest, Baker. As we say, we didn't really have much time to gather ourselves. I have a feeling... Okay, this one I do know. So Frank Carson versus Devin Bayer. These are the 2 players I was looking out for. It was a 2-0 victory for Frank Carson.
Is that so?
We saw that very aggressive take on Amber Steel Songs with those Piglet Poo Pirate Captains.
That's the one.
And Devin told me, yep, Frank had a lot of aerials in a few games, and it was quite an easy win. I think Devin was not really fancying their chances, but they said to me, the main thing is, I got the Mickey.
I got the Mickey, and made the top 8, which is an incredible accomplishment. But yeah, Frank, again, as we've already alluded to, a really experienced TCG player, and has brought his skills into the Lorcana TCG, and showing people that he's just as much of a legend in this game as well, already securing that top 4. Do you think this Amber Steel build could go all the way?
I could well see it. On the other side, I do also know the result of this one as I saw it just ending. We had Anthony, who we watched with Sapphire Steel it was in the first round we saw them take down Atlantis 2-0. They actually were taken out by Kevin on Amethyst Emerald, and I've been informed by our French counterparts here that Kevin here is a very well-known French player, and for that reason we are going to be jumping on board with them in the semi-final. We're going to be watching Kevin's Amethyst Emerald in action up next. A very, very well-known player in the French community, I'm told.
No, I'm looking forward to seeing how he pilots this EA tempo deck that a lot of players have found.
On home turf as well.
On home turf as well, and so many players have found success with this ink combination. Again, just the other day, we had one of the masters of EA tempo, Julian Hammer. Unfortunately, didn't have the greatest run in this tournament, but he's certainly one that put it on the map, and it was such a popular ink combination over the course of this tournament. We look at the Cinderella bracket here. Simon taking on Reece, and we of course watched that game here live, and it was Reece that came out with the victory. Very hard earned, it was very intense, one of the best games of Lorcana I've ever seen, to be honest. While we were having our break as the players were coming out, we were giving our compliments, and they both seemed in really good spirits about it as well. Even Simon, who obviously can't feel great about losing, but he had a smile on his face. He's clearly happy to win Mickey Brave Little Taylor, clearly happy with how he's done over the course of the tournament. It was really good vibes, and that's exactly what I want to see.
Yeah, absolutely. We have seen, I think, the first of our 2 players entering the building, so we are going to be getting underway pretty soon. When we have the deck lists available, we will let you know exactly what to look out for. So we are going to be seeing, again, that Emerald and Amethyst, and I imagine we might also get a look at the semi-final bracket in just a moment. No promises, though, but that would be my anticipation as Baker is furiously typing away, getting that information for us, trying to find those deck lists. Here we go. We have Reece versus Kevin. This is the game we're going to be watching. And on the other side, we have Frank versus Theotime. Double Ruby Amethyst. Ruby Amethyst could be a mirror matchup finals.
That would be interesting, for sure.
3 different ink color combinations remaining. We have lots of Amethyst, which is Amethyst Ruby times 2. We have Amethyst Emerald, and Frank representing Amber and Steel. It looks like Sapphire is the only ink color no longer still in contention, if I'm not mistaken.
No, that's absolutely right.
Which is probably a bit of an upset, I think.
I agree. I think Sapphire has been really hyped over the course of especially set 3 format of Into the Inklands. Again, I keep talking about the power of Ruby Sapphire and how it just came out of nowhere with the addition of Diamond, became one of the best decks in the game. And yeah, there've been some very talented pilots of that deck, but none of them made it to, and I think this is, I'll be honest, this is our final screen for standing, so that's really cool to see. But yeah, what's interesting to take away from that is Amethyst, just in general, the most dominating color of all those 4 decks, 3 of them choosing to run that particular ink. Is Amethyst the best color?
Well, I think that's a really good question. I was going to ask, is Amethyst at its peak right now? Because I would argue, moving into set 4, if we want to start talking about that.
Yeah, by all means.
What did Amethyst get that much that's new? They got the new Ursula legendary card, the 7 cost. There's definitely some interesting new second star to the right cards. But I have to say, the bounce package, the Man and Mims, the Snakes, the Foxes, they've been really dominant since set 2. But surely as more sets are released, those cards might not be keeping up with it as much. So this could be the peak of Amethyst we're seeing right here, potentially.
You could be right.
That's my prediction.
No, you could absolutely be right. Again, we have no idea what cards we're going to get over the course of the next few sets. I think it would take a lot to make us not need to play that bounce package anymore, though, because the Fox, the Snake, the Rabbit, they're so powerful.
Yeah. And maybe they don't even need anything new, Baker, right? Maybe it's good enough still even for the next set.
Hey, I'll tell you what, if there are cards that we get that make us not need these cards anymore, I'm scared.
Yes. Yes.
But is Amethyst the best color? Like, just that consistency of being able to draw cards with Rabbit, and also just knowing that if it's removed, you're drawing another one. We have friends on the other side, Madam and Fox, just one of the most powerful characters. Bounce isn't like, I feel like these cards may have been written with like the bounce mechanic being like the bad side of the card, but it really isn't. We've seen this so many times where this is an advantage, bouncing back the rabbits, or even just protecting characters in aggro decks, for example, protecting our aggressive questers. And again, just all the draw, and Merlin Goat as well, just one of the literal goats of the game. You tell me. I struggle to see a point of view that doesn't say that Amethyst might be the best color in the game.
There is only one best color in the game, and its name is Emerald.
That is a take, and it's not necessarily a take I actually disagree with. He is biased.
I'm biased. I love Emerald.
The thing is, as much as I know you're half joking, I think you're all half right, at least, to be honest, especially in this format with all the additions it's gained. Ursula 2-drop, just one of the most significant cards in the format. Ursula 3-drop, the Deceiver of All, really powerful card. We've not seen it do much, to be honest.
What I will say is pretty interesting to note, actually, the Emerald Amethyst deck that's left in contention has dodged Steel Songs in the semi-finals, which I think could be a really big deal. So, for example, if Frank was to get knocked out on Amber Steel Songs in the semi-final, you could make, like, and similarly, if the Emerald Amethyst player, it's possible that both these players just need to take down Ruby Amethyst to get to the final, because there's Ruby Amethyst represented either side of the bracket. So I think it's quite nice that the Emerald Amethyst player is not up against Amber Steel Songs, because that's a really tough matchup. Of course, we could see it in the final, and who knows what kind of techs they might have up their sleeves. But I'm going to go ahead and back the Emerald Amethyst player from this point. I said in the previous round the winner of Frank versus Devin, but Emerald, I'm so biased. It's my favorite ink color by far. I know you're a big fan of Ruby Amethyst as well.
Yeah, of course. But again, I completely bow my head to like the power creep of Emerald as of set 3. So yeah, I think there's a lot to be said for that just being a potential best color in the game. And again, it's another one of these inks that combines so well with so many other combinations. He's already opening cards.
The truth is, every colour is incredible, which is just a testament to the balance team, the design team. I mean, we haven't seen Sapphire, but Sapphire was very, very well represented in the quarterfinals, and they were just one lore away, one ink away in the previous round to getting that one-game win. We saw 10 ink available. Top card off the deck was the Monstrous Dragon, not enough to spend with the dime. So Sapphire was incredibly close to making it on a couple of different games. Okay, pack.
All right,
Winter
pack,
Camp. First Aid. Raya. Pico. Wasn't sure of that one. Gunther? Gunther. Beast. Felix. I'm getting good at this.
You are getting pretty good at this, to be fair. I'm impressed.
Mob Song. The Mob Song.
We're not safe until he's dead. Go on.
Mirabelle. And is it my first legendary? Is it my first?
I believe.
It's Super Rare Prince Philip. Prince Philip's really cool.
I really like this card.
Let's talk about this card.
Let's do it. Go on.
Prince Philip, shift 6, evasive, quest for 3, but it costs 9. So you can shift it in for 6.
There's only one inkable Prince Philip.
Yep. Shift and Sure. When you play this character, banish all opposing damaged characters. All damaged opposing characters. That is a board wipe potential. But here comes the Enchanted. By the way, I still didn't get a legendary. So I think it needs to be a rule that I can't stop opening packs, Baker, until I get one legendary.
All right, fair enough. Hey, if they're going to keep bringing them, then I won't argue with you.
Aeril's Grotto.
That is
not the Enchanted one.
That is not a legendary, my friend. All right, well, you've opened one, so let's keep things civilized, shall we? We've got the Ice Block. This is Atlantica. We've got Training Grounds. I've got all the locations, apparently. Casa Madrigal, the Hidden Inkcaster, my favourite card. Beast, if the sarcasm wasn't obvious enough. We've got Marshmallow.
Sorry.
Oh, it's too... No, if the players are ready,
keep going.
If the players are ready to go.
They're just assessing the deck list. I thought I'd show you.
Assessing the decks. All right, we've got a Vision Slabber at the last few cards, a Pirate's Life, one of the interesting sing-together songs, the new Mickey Playful Sorcerer. You can get this in the Illumineers quest. It comes in one of the two decks.
Very true.
Deep Trouble, one of your favourite cards that you can absolutely have it. But and we get a Benger as our foil. So, okay, you don't need to tell me once again that I'm the only one putting legendaries. But let's move away from Ursa's Return and go back to Into the Inklands, the semi-finals. Once again, we just watched this Ruby Amethyst player take a 2-1 victory over Ruby Sapphire. And again, you made the point not too long ago about certain matchups having obviously stronger matchups into certain things, but at the highest level here with these players, they know how to deal with the decks that their decks don't do as well against. So I wonder if we're going to see some lines that most players would miss particularly, but these top level players know that this is my path to victory in this matchup that is not favoured for me.
Yeah, absolutely. Just trying to see if I can get a peek to read the deck list right in front of me. I can see there's 2 copies of Chernobog's Followers in this Emerald and Amethyst deck, which I love to see. There is still 4 copies of Flynn Rider, 3 copies of Kuzco. There is a couple Maleficent Sorceress, which is the 3-cost Maleficent. There's a Pinocchio in the mixer as well, 1 copy of that. So the Pinocchio looks like the most interesting option here from Kevin. Kevin, very well known in the French community, I'm told. And, of course, on home soil, up against the man from London who we saw in the previous round.
And what's really interesting is we were talking in the last round about the Ruby Amethyst player playing the 2 copies of Teeth and Ambitions. Wasn't a particularly useful card in the matchup against Ruby Sapphire, but against these Emerald cards, that Teeth and Ambitions could absolutely put in some work, removing things like Flynn Riders, Cursed Merfolk. So I imagine Teeth and Ambitions will be much more useful in this particular match. So our players doing their pile shuffling to count cards.
Oh, of course there is teeth. Forgive me. I'm sat there thinking there's no teeth. I'm telling Baker to my left, there's no teeth, mate. But, of course, he actually knows what he's doing. So that's my apologies. We've had a little bit of a long day over here. We're soldiering on. We're really enjoying it. We don't want to take breaks because we want to see all the action.
I don't want to miss any of these Lorcana
not
games.
at all.
Not one do I want to miss. I'm just having another look for this Ruby Amethyst list again. To that Jim
No,
Hawkins.
it's a really good point you make, Baker. My apologies again as the hat gets placed down on the table. The Teeth and Ambitions belonged in the Inkwell in the previous game where it was so low impact. But in this one, it is a complete game changer.
Yeah, there's lots of targets for this. Again, you know them more than me, the Emerald cards, but definitely Flynn's, Cursed Merfolk. But yeah, also this Jim Hawkins that I don't remember putting in any work in the previous game. I'm not sure if we even saw it.
I don't think we did see it at all.
But maybe this is the one where he'll come up, the Space Traveller. But here we go, our players drawing their opening 7 cards. Kevin has 2 down. Is that him just already knowing what he wants to mulligan? Maybe they're doing it the way that we referred to earlier, where the player going first should do their mulligan thoroughly first.
Yep, I would imagine so. I think, like, if you're the player going second, you just are going to wait for your opponent to make the decision first. It's not much information you gain by seeing what they mulligan, but it certainly is worth waiting since you are entitled to do so. Otherwise, it could just be some kind of standoff where each player just never mulligans.
Yeah, for sure. And we do see that Teeth and Ambitions, which I imagine, again, they know what each other are playing.
Okay, Reece has access to Pinocchio.
They're
now,
both
a big
important.
reason that this Pinocchio is in Reece's deck is for Emerald. There is the Teeth, there is the Pinocchio. So the Emerald techs for Reece are available in the opening hand. I think they're going to be very happy about that.
Yeah, for sure. Though Kevin has what looks like a pretty good hand, very low to the ground. He's got a nice curve there. Throwing back 5 cards, I believe. I think it was just the Pinocchio and the Teeth and Ambitions that Reece kept hold of. Looks about right because there's 5 cards there that are being re-picked up. Yeah, so just holding on to those 2 tech cards. As Curly said, they're offering their opponent the cut. Kevin doing a quick shuffle, completely his prerogative. Reece having another look. He definitely wants to find that Minnie Mouse always classy. That would be a fantastic 1-drop, not only, of course, to enable things like Madam Mim Snake and Madam Mim Fox, but it would be a fantastic target for that Teeth and Ambitions, putting 2 damage on the Minnie, and she would survive it, and then hopefully taking out a Merfolk, a Flynn, something like that.
Yeah, already interested to see how each player is kind of displaying the cards in their hand. It's something we talked about a lot as the Teeth and Ambitions gets inked from Reece, and Rafiki enters the board.
That's super interesting. I really would have thought he would have held on to that. But again, Reece, a fantastic player. I'm sure he absolutely knows what he's doing.
Pinocchio in both players' hands. Pinocchio, talkative puppet, giving each player that control. It's certainly not a card you see that often in Emerald and Amethyst, but I love to see it. Gives you that little bit of extra control.
For sure.
Even a Pinocchio and Rafiki could give you a lot of surprise value in the early rounds. However, of course, we are now at the stage of the tournament where it is open deck lists. Reece is going to be very well aware of that Pinocchio threat as the Chernobox Followers hits the board, a card I adore. 2 copies of it in Kevin's deck, and Reece does not play a card this turn, does not quest with Rafiki, and oh my goodness, Pinocchio.
Yep,
is it going to be the turn 2 Pinocchio from Kevin?
This really might be it, because if he does that, there's nothing that Reece can do on his turn to immediately challenge the Chernobog and take it off the board. He doesn't have enough ink to play a 1-drop and then a Madam Mim Fox. So
Flynn
I think you might be right.
In comes Pinocchio. What a start this is from Kevin. The Chernobog's Followers removing Rafiki, which when challenged, of course, has 0 strength because it only has that strength when it is challenging itself. A huge momentum swing here in Kevin's favour, but the Minnie Mouse Stylish Surfer hits the board for Reece. 1 card to look out for in Kevin's deck to deal with this Minnie is the Tinkerbell, the 4 cost. It can be giving evasive to something with 3 strength, and then it could be that Minnie could be removed very easily. It doesn't appear though that Kevin has access to Tinkerbell as it stands. Kit Cloud Kicker, also an interesting option for Kevin to potentially bounce that Minnie back into Reece's hand.
Honestly, I feel like that might be the play, because then if Reece chooses to try and do the Stylish Surfer Mini again, we just bounce the kit and play it again. So I imagine once Reece sees that Kit Cloud Kicker, if it does go down.
I'm not sure. Is there a kit in the hand?
You said it, so I assume there was.
I don't think there is.
May have been something else. They're definitely in the deck.
So the Maleficent Reece, I see a little smirk there. I think quite happy to see that. Was possibly fearing the kit because
for sure.
Kevin could certainly start running away with the board control. Forces themselves not to quest with the Chernobox. Could have quested, but instead deciding to leave the board as it is, respecting the threat of a Madam Mim Fox. Of course, Chernobox could be drawing a card as well, but Kevin deciding to leave the threats on the board for now and perhaps draw a card with the Chernobox down the line. In comes the rabbit. Reece draws a card, and the Minnie Mouse Stylish Surfer with her evasive ability can only be targeted by other evasives is, of course, going to Quest. Reece is also going to be really happy to see that there isn't a 3 strength character on the board here, because that means that there is no threat of Tinkerbell giving evasive to that 3 strength card, meaning that Minnie Mouse is pretty safe to Quest here. So while Kevin had this amazing turn 2 play with Pinocchio, the Maleficent on turn 3, not ideal, although being able to sing Friends on the other side and drawing 2 cards is not too shabby at all.
Yeah, no, that's a good follow-up to the play he was forced to make. But again, I think you're right. I'm sure he would have preferred to have had a different 3-drop there. But hey, you do it. Play the hand you've got. I'm now finally having a look through the deck list of our EA Tempo player. There are 3 copies of Kit Cloud Kicker. 2, I think you mentioned the 2 Maleficent that you saw, just the 1 Pinocchio. Nothing really all that out of the ordinary here. This looks pretty cookie cutter.
I have to say, this 1 Pinocchio, though, it is not something I've seen very often in Emerald Amethyst, and it is making the difference here in the early game. And now it's on the board, it can be bounced back multiple times and is a huge threat for Reece's board.
Yeah, I think it's a really good card. Again, you've just seen it put in use in this particular matchup. But again, it's good also against the Steel Song decks. Hopefully, maybe we pick off an aerial before they get a chance to play a whole new world. Or in particular, in the mirror match, which obviously you would expect to be so close. But this Pinocchio, if it can deal with an opponent's Ursa Deceiver of All or something like that, then that's just going to keep you slightly in the lead.
The Kit Cloud Kicker has been found by Kevin, although a couple turns later, or I suppose 1 turn later than they might have liked.
For sure.
Reece is exerting, it seems like, 4 ink in order to play a rabbit of their own and draws into that Madame Medusa. Inks the Minnie Mouse Stylish Surfer. 1 ink remaining if they want to do it. And Quest for 2. Of course, that rabbit, the turn it enters the board, is not able to challenge or quest.
For sure. It is still drying. We need to wait for that ink to be dry, which takes a full turn of it being on the board. But lots of cards here that can, again, if Reece, if Kevin does find a way of removing Reece's board, then these rabbits are going to keep drawing cards, make sure Reece has got options. He inked that 2nd Stylish Surfer Mini. He's got to imagine that the one he's got on the board isn't going to stick around for too long. Again, he knows that Kevin has access to 3 copies of Kit Cloud Kicker. Hasn't seen play yet, but you said, oh yeah, you mentioned he's just drawn into it. So is that something he wants to do this turn, just to slow this Mini down?
I mean, honestly, a Kit Cloud Kicker on turn 4 is so much worse. In fact, turn 5, so much worse than it could have been just bouncing that Mini back straight away. It's possible the time has gone for that, and Kevin might want to instead start utilizing his Madam Mim Fox, for example, to gain some board control, remove the rabbit from the board, perhaps. Let's see what Kevin decides to go for. Certainly has a lot of options, and it is untimed rounds as well, so no rush for Kevin at all here.
Weighing up his options. Again, we're in the top 4 here. They are untimed. You see the clock at the top there is counting up to give us just an idea of how long the game took overall. But they're not being timed at this point, so they can take their time. But again, these players are so good. They know their decks. They know the matchups. I think they've identified their lines fairly quickly. A rabbit going into a rabbit, something...
The crab,
the crab boost
challenger.
There we go. There you go.
The crab giving the rabbit challenger there, meaning that the other rabbit is removed from Reece's side of the board, while Kevin's remains. Does look like the Kit Cloud Kicker has been inked, and in comes this Madam Mim Snake, bouncing back the talkative puppet, ready for another chance for Pinocchio to exert a readied character, which is going to allow Kevin to challenge it, because of course in Disney Lorcana, a character which is in the readied position cannot be challenged, and that is exactly why this 2-cost Pinocchio card, just a single copy in Kevin's deck, can be so impactful, allowing Kevin to remove threats which would otherwise be readied and unable to be challenged.
Yeah, an absolutely really powerful card. We see Reece inking a Queen's Castle, and he has turned 6 cards exerted, which brings on the Madame Medusa. Going to remove that crab, who is forced to give something Challenger 3. I think we can just assume he gave it to the Maleficent Sorceress that's now gone. I think that's perfectly reasonable.
It was given to the snake, but it's not going to matter yet. It's completely irrelevant, as challenge is only relevant if Kevin is giving challenge. But it is really important that Kevin is still making sure that they complete all the triggers necessary of the card. When Crab leaves the board, it must give challenger to something. So Kevin, make sure to make that very clear that that has happened, and then the game can move forwards.
Yeah, 100%, because if Kevin had no other characters on board, it would have to go onto one of Reece's. So just an interaction that's worth bringing up. It came up the other day, so again, it might be newer players to the game, so we're trying to educate as well.
And
get
even
more people
experienced
into it.
players, I think we saw some players missing out on that yesterday in a really high-stakes game.
We've missed a couple of things as
Oh,
we've
absolutely.
been watching all this. So every day's a school day. We're going to see Merlin Rabbits trade off.
Both players draw.
And pass over to Reece. Oh, no, he's still going. Yep, sorry. Yeah, he's because of his Merlin Rabbit. My apologies. A nice big hand from Kevin. Lots of options here. He's going to play another rabbit, it looks like he's eyeing up. Wants a few more cards in his hand. There's multiple rabbits as well, to be fair.
Worth taking a note as well at the lore count, with Reece starting to creep ahead at that 7 lore mark. Both players, of course, on Amethyst have those goats. So once the player gets to around the 16, 17 point mark, look out for those goats being strung together with Madam Mims to gain a lot of lore in a short period of time. The Madam Mim Fox comes in and bounces back the Madam Mim Snake into Kevin's hand, which then is placed into the inkwell, and Ursula, Deceiver of All, has entered the board.
I was just saying,
big bad.
We haven't seen her that much. Could this be the game where she actually gets a big value turn? We know Reece plays Pinocchios as well. I'm not seeing any in his hand, so I don't think there's going to be an answer to it. Oh no, there is a Pinocchio there.
The Minnie Mouse going to quest for 2. This puts Kevin slowly but surely closer towards that 20 mark, now at 9.
Yeah, it's going to come down, exert that Ursula, Deceiver of All. Madame Medusa is going to easily take it out with her 4 strength, taking 2 damage herself.
It's the Pinocchio show here in the semi-finals.
Really,
the talkative puppet putting in serious work for both players.
Yeah.
I think what Kevin has done very well, though, is Reece was forced to hold on to this talkative puppet from the mulligan stage. That talkative puppet has been in Reece's hand the entire game, if I'm not mistaken. So Kevin making things a little bit awkward for Reece in that sense. That's where if Reece has too many uninkable cards, that could have been really awkward. That's why we do see a lot of players just deciding to go for a single copy of Pinocchio, because if you end up with 2 in your hand, it can be very, very awkward, of course, being an uninkable card.
Yep, no, for sure. Rabbit coming down to draw another card. Gets a Flynn Rider off the top. Again, he's got a lot of cards in his hand, so lots of lines he could take. So taking the time to identify which way he wants to go with this. He's eyeing up a Flynn Rider move to the top, maybe looking to just extend a bit. Again, like as you say, Reece is kind of taking, well, not kind of, he is taking the lead in lore 9-4. So Kevin maybe just wanting to try and catch up a little bit. We are seeing the Pinocchio potentially coming down. Is that going to be to take out Reece's Pinocchio? Yeah, I thought that might be the case, to remove that option from Reece's side of the field.
Pinocchio on Pinocchio, amazing to see. And of course, with that Pinocchio going into the discard pile, that's going to prevent Reece from bouncing it back into their hand.
For sure.
Which is going to mean that Kevin's cards are a little bit more safe moving forwards. Now, we know that Kevin is only on 1 Pinocchio, Baker, but how many copies of Pinocchio is Reece playing?
Yeah, Reece has 2 copies of that talkative puppet in his deck. So 1 is gone, so again, that's worth noting, but still, Pinocchio, such a good card. We've seen examples of that in the game so far. Rabbit trading into the Fox and letting Reece draw a card. But yeah, there could be another Pinocchio to come. We shall see.
And Kevin's going to be fully aware of that. And that's where players at this level are going to be doing a lot of the maths. Okay, how many cards roughly are left in deck? And what are the odds that the second Pinocchio has been drawn at this time? And it's also possible that Kevin might just play into that Pinocchio a bit, and just accept it's going to pop off.
The double castle drop.
Oh, my goodness.
Oh, that's a lot of pressure. I mean, don't get me wrong, Kevin's got a big hand. He has things like Madam Mim Fox. I don't know if it's in his hand, but in the deck, crabs. So he could be able to deal with one of these castles. I don't think he's dealing with both.
A huge moment here. Reece just exerting 8 ink, the double Queen's Castle, and suddenly Kevin needs to deal 14 damage to remove these castles. And that Minnie Mouse is continuing to put in some serious work as well.
And that's what I mean. That's why I wonder if maybe a little earlier it was worth, even on turn 5, playing the kit just to get it off the field and just interfere with Reece's tempo a bit. Again, Kevin clearly knows what he's doing, so hopefully in the long run that will not be the case. Going to play down a rabbit, drawing another card, exerting 4. But yeah, I'm not seeing an answer. I think I see a Mother Knows Best, 2 Mother Knows Best, a Goat, a Maleficent, an Ursula 2 dropping a Tinkerbell. So none of these castles are leaving this turn.
Yeah, this is where Kevin's being a little bit punished for the lack of crab count, I think.
Yeah, for sure.
Only 2 crabs in the deck.
Yeah, we were talking
about that.
about
And in an
that
open deck list format, Reece is really taking advantage of that. I've spoken to Julian Hammer, who we saw back in the Swiss day one, very well known in the community for playing Emerald and Amethyst, and has always told me you have to play 4 crabs. Obviously Kevin has other ideas, and clearly it's worked out for them, but Reece taking advantage of Kevin maybe cutting some corners. How do they fit this Pinocchio in? Well, maybe they have to reduce the crab count to do it, and Reece has found the weakness of Kevin's deck potentially, but it is certainly far from all over, with Kevin also developing a wide board here themselves and starting to make some questing and some trades, sinking 1 damage into the Queen's Castle with the talkative puppet.
No, I mean, it makes sense because now it means next turn the goat and the rabbit can go in to finish it off. But yeah, as you say, like only 2 crabs in the deck, and he inked one of those crabs on turn 1. So even more reason for Reece to be
17 lore now, Baker, for Reece.
I think this is game 1.
In comes the Be Prepared. And I said
1.
it was certainly far from over, but I was certainly very wrong about that. Reece was prepared. The Be Prepared clears it out. The double castle puts in some serious work for Reece in this semi-final.
Yeah, once again, another game where we're seeing the power of the Queen's Castle, and if you don't have an answer for it, it can just win games out of nowhere. Like you say, it didn't look like it was that close to being over, but he was already at around 7-8 lore due to the Stylish Surfer Mini, and then double castle drop is just incredible. I
have to say, Baker, I really enjoyed just seeing that big sigh from Reece. Just wow, like the pressure on these guys, obviously having a lot of fun, very passionate about what they do, but there was that big sigh of, wow, is this really happening? Am I about to go into the finals of the first ever Disney Lorcana Challenge?
Right? You've got to think that this game, our Emerald Amethyst player is going to be a little safer with their crabs, I would imagine. Maybe not, we'll see. Again, you have to play the hand you're dealt, but I don't think he wants to go through that again and just a double castle drop like that, just leaving him without any options.
Yeah, both players just communicating there and deciding to give each other's decks a shuffle, which is very much in the spirit of the game, with both players agreeing to that being the case. Give it a little cut as well.
It's just good manners, in my opinion. You present your deck to your opponent, just do a cut, do a shuffle, whatever you like, and we're going to see our opening 7 hands. Could this be the last game of the semi-finals? I know Kevin hopes not. He wants to bring it to a game 3. We shall certainly see. There is a Chernobog's followers there, a couple of kits, so if Reece does want to go down that early line of Mini Stylish Surfer again, Kevin might be inclined to hold on to one of these kits to immediately deal with it. We see the always classy Mini.
Yeah, and I think looking back at that previous game, Kevin started off in a really great spot, but it was that turn 3, the Maleficent Sorceress, just not the kind of card you want to be playing from Kevin's point of view. Something with 3 strength to threaten that Minnie Mouse, or even just that with Tinkerbell, or that Cloud Kicker to bounce that Minnie Mouse back. The Minnie Mouse put in work, and then the double castle into Be Prepared from Reece.
Just an incredible play. If you haven't got the cards to deal with that, then you haven't got the cards to deal with it, and especially with Kevin only playing 2 crabs, and one of them was inked very early. So I imagine Kevin's going to learn from that and make sure that he is a bit more prepared for a castle drop if it happens, because he had so many cards in his hand. It seemed like he was going to have a lot of options, but just didn't have the ones he needed to deal with the Queen's Castle.
Absolutely so. Both players now with their hands. I can see a couple copies of Ursula Deceiver for Kevin. This could be a nice way of trying to mitigate the damage potentially of Pinocchio. You play one, it gets removed, you try again down the line. One thing that you really do need to pop off, and Kevin lacked in that previous game, as an Emerald player against Ruby Amethyst, you need your Ursula to be putting in some serious work. And that double puppet from Reece, meaning that Ursula is struggling a lot more. Ursula Deceiver inked, but in comes the powerhouse that is the turn 1 Cursed Merfolk. Is there a more dangerous opening play in Disney Lorcana?
I mean, you know the deck better than me, so I think you should be the one to say, but I can say as someone that's faced it a lot, I'm never happy to see a Cursed Merfolk on turn 1.
Just applying so much pressure, questing for 2, but if it is challenged, your opponent must discard a card. So it's applying pressure to the board, but also applying pressure to the opponent's hand. But that Minnie Mouse, Reece is really putting in some serious work with this Minnie Mouse.
For sure, and I think he's holding the Teeth and Ambition, so I imagine on the next turn, yes, that Cursed Merfolk is probably going to get to quest for 2.
That's a good point. Will we see the Ursula Deceiver perhaps from Kevin then? Can't quite see the hand, but Ursula Deceiver could deal with that Teeth and Ambition.
Again, he knows the Teeth and Ambitions are in Reece's deck, and again, we've talked about the difference between open deck lists and not. We are seeing an inked crab straight away, and down comes a Chernobog's followers.
Is there another one drop for Kevin? One thing that you really want to be doing, and it's not there for Kevin, That is not the best of starts, therefore, just a 1-cost character on turn 2. Not the worst, but of course it would have been really nice to have played something like another copy of Chernobog's.
Yeah.
Maybe, I don't think Kevin's playing Pascal, but another Merfolk. Doesn't quest either with the Merfolk, and there is a problem with that, Baker. Doesn't want to quest. That's quite interesting that they didn't quest with the Merfolk. I'm trying to work out the reasoning here. Have they finished their turn?
Yeah, they have. Yeah, they've gone over to Reece. He's drawn a card.
So perhaps the game plan there with Kevin is because they don't have that Madam Mim Snake on turn 2, is wanting to quest with the Merfolk on turn 3 and then bounce it back into hand with a Fox. I think that's the line that they're going for here.
Yeah, that makes sense. They want to be able to keep it safe and then put it straight back down and probably just race quicker than Reece's, because Kevin saw how quickly Reece was racing in the last game with the Stylish Surfer Mini, and the Queen's Castle's coming down. So maybe Kevin just saying, okay, I need to be further ahead in lore than I was last time when this happened. But yeah, that Teeth and Ambitions, I think there's a good cause to think that might be played. But again, that's going to take up 2 of he hasn't got anyone that can sing it, so he would have to pay 2 ink.
Yep, it's going to cost 2,
which is kind of slow, but probably worth it.
Whoa, goes for the Chernobog's followers. That is fascinating from Reece, deciding not to take out the Merfolk, but instead denying the potential card draw from the Chernobog's followers. One thing that we can see a lot of very skilled Ruby Amethyst players do in this matchup is they try to negate the value of the cursed Merfolk by emptying their hand potentially. However, perhaps what Reece decides to do is that they really value this Minnie Mouse on the board, and they want to just be able to not offer the opportunity to challenge Chernobog's into Mini. Fascinating decision, that is for sure.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Because the Chernobog's follower, if he'd have taken out the cursed Merfolk, and then Chernobog's followers could have challenged into the Mini, taken her out, but the Chernobog's followers would have been taken out as well. It's only got 1 willpower, am I correct?
Yep.
Yeah, so
I think it was like a fight for board presence.
Yeah.
Here we go, though.
Oh, it's the first time we're
seeing
she is double singing Friends on the Other Side.
And this is the play if you're Kevin. You really want to be making against Ruby Amethyst. You're playing Emerald Amethyst. You maybe have a slightly lower curve, but the games can go on for a long time. But what you do have is the Ursula, Deceiver of All Synergy with Friends on the Other Side. 4 cards into your hand.
Just so much advantage.
Is incredible. No Pinocchio available for Reece, but I mean, even if they had Pinocchio, there wasn't a character with enough strength to take out the Ursula anyway.
No, would have
the
regarded
Merfolk
Rafiki.
Does now quest. The Chernobog's followers is in the discard pile, just worth noting there. It's not super clear, but that is the discard pile with the Chernobogs. And this is, I think, what Kevin was looking to do by not questing with the Merfolk earlier, bouncing it back with the Fox, and now the Merfolk can be replayed again, readied, which means it cannot be challenged and can start doing some very aggressive questing. Kevin in a really good spot here.
Yeah, for sure.
Despite the teeth from Reece.
Yeah, no, that was a very good play. Worth noting, both crabs are gone now from Kevin. So Reece, who is aware that there are only 2 crabs in the deck, is going to know, okay, maybe my castles are even safer now. But again, there is a Madam Mim Fox on the field. It does survive.
Here's the thing. Reece going second. Queen's Castle is, or certainly Reece is far behind on the board. And another Friends with Ursula. Another 4 cards drawn. The Queen's Castle here for Reece would just be way too passive. He needs to start to fight for a little bit of board control. We saw in the previous game holding on to those Queen's Castles until turn 8 to B-prep, but this one has gone very, very differently. It's all about Ursula here in the semi-final, game number 2.
You've got to imagine Reece has got a Fox somewhere coming down.
Speaking of Ursula,
2 drop, taking a look, and a miss, seeing 2 copies of Medusa, a Kuzco, and a Rabbit, but
big
can't
information.
feel great, but yeah, exactly that. It's still information. Good to know what he's holding.
It is the Ursula show. Kevin has so many cards in hand, he might need 2 hands in order to be able to hold them all, but I certainly would. But he's got the card game skills, just got it all perfectly displayed in that nice little fan formation.
We see a Queen's Castle from Kevin. Maybe Kevin will be the one to take advantage of the Queen's Castle in this particular game. Not yet. He couldn't play it this turn, but we may see a flip. We're going to see questing from Madam Mim Fox and Cursed Merfolk for a jump of 3. Again,
that Chernobog's followers, if you're just joining us, is in the discard pile. It's the only card in the discard. It is not on the board currently.
We see a goat inked. And that's going to bring down the Kit Cloud Kicker to bounce back the Stylish Surfer Mini, a really good counter to this really aggressive Quester who only has 1 strength, so it's a perfect target for Kit Cloud Kicker.
It is looking good for Kevin, and the key was this Ursula. Reece just not being able to answer the Ursula without the Pinocchios, without the Rafikis. It's going to be the Merlin Rabbit removing the Merfolk, and Madame Medusa is discarded by Reece.
I think at that point he just needs to slow him down a little bit. Let's see his entire hand. He's doing a good job of covering it. We see another rabbit just drawing more cards, looking for more options. Drawing cards is, after all, king. We're going to ink the Stylish Surfer, sorry, the Always Classy Mini, and pay 5.
Doesn't actually.
He's exerted late.
That was the 4 exerted from the rabbit previously,
gotcha.
And that mini then just goes down as well into the inkwell. Kevin, of course, draws to start the turn. All the characters are readied. There is 2 rabbits on the board for Reece, 1 readied and 1 exerted. So that exerted rabbit is able to be challenged by Kevin's characters. But on the other side, this other rabbit that is readied is unable to be challenged by Kevin's characters.
For sure. Kevin, so many cards in his hand. Drawn 8 cards courtesy of friends on the other side, which is a lot of cards. The Fox going to trade there into the rabbit, going to let Reece draw another card. And then,
Crab into the inkwell. In comes the Queen's Castle. And this is the beautiful thing. Once you start getting that board control, the Queen's Castle in your own, we saw the Queen's Castle used against Kevin previously, but the Rafiki moves into the castle. The lore is getting racked up very quickly for Kevin. And of course, if Reece was to be prepared at some point soon, that Queen's Castle would remain on the board after the fact. Kevin at 8 lore, Reece trailing at 4, but more importantly at this moment in time, trailing behind in terms of board presence. The rabbit is all that they have on the board. Another rabbit enters the field. Reece going to draw a card and draws into another rabbit.
I just need to interrupt you for a moment. It appears that there are 4 Merlin Crab in the deck. I'm not sure where that happened. I apologise for that. I'm not sure what happened, but yeah, I was very surprised because I thought both the crabs were gone, and then he just inked another one.
So yeah, Kevin is listening to Julian's advice and playing the 4 crabs.
Apologies for that, for giving incorrect information there. I got a lot of deck lists in front of me, but yeah, that's good to know because I was very surprised to see him being so willing to give up those crabs because again, they're such important pieces for taking out certain things. So yeah, just to confirm, there are 4 Merlin Crabs in this deck. My apologies for the incorrect information.
And Kevin there has drawn, has readied everything. They're 10 lore away. That Queen's Castle has just gained them 2 lore and drawn them an extra card with Rafiki being in there.
As I said, maybe Kevin's the one that's going to take advantage of it this time, and it's certainly looking that way. Reece, got access to things like Maui, but it's a pretty passive turn.
The rabbit is removed from the board, and Reece is going to draw a card, therefore. The Ursula has 2 damage counters in her for now, but those damage counters are removed, and she's replayed. The friends on the other side is in the hand for Reece, and it is discarded. Kevin takes that other moment. So in case you missed that, it happened quite quickly. The 2 ink was spent by this Madam Mim Snake to bounce the Ursula back into hand, which removes the damage counters. 2 more ink was spent by Kevin to replay that Ursula. Friends on the other side was discarded by Reece because of Ursula. And now I believe this Ursula Deceiver of all has just quested for 1.
Down comes
Flynn Rider plays, moves into the castle.
Yep, Kevin's looking real good in this particular game. He's got to feel a lot better about his board presence. Moving over to Reece.
Now, I think Reece is at 6 ink right now, so it is, of course, that threshold where Reece is threatening. Be prepared, but very important to note the timing there from Kevin on the Ursula Deceiver. The turn before the Be Prepared could be coming through does a check to see if Be Prepared was in the hand. Could have discarded it. It wasn't there, so was able to discard the friends instead. Masterfully done there by Kevin, but the rabbit is able to challenge into the Queen's Castle.
I imagine a fox is going to come down here. No, I'm not seeing one. We see the ink of the Stylish Surfer Mini. The Be Prepared.
Into the Be Prepared.
There you go.
Now, you can't stop the top deck Be Prepared after checking for Ursula. The Be Prepared right on time there for Kevin.
Yeah.
But of course, the Be Prepared right on time for Reece. But the Queen's Castle remains intact. 2 more lore gained. Kevin just 7 away. The rabbit enters the board and another card enters the hand, therefore, for Kevin.
Yeah, no, again, it's just on the opposite end of the stick this time. Last time it was Reece with the castle and a big Be Prepared, and this time Reece playing Be Prepared again, but the castle is on Kevin's side of the field, and he's going to ink a kick, cloud kicker, play another rabbit. Just more cards, please.
And play passes back on over to Reece, who readies their cards, draws a card, and it's a Madam Mim Snake, it seems, that enters the hand this time.
That's a Kuzco.
It was a Kuzco, okay. Maui into the castle.
There you go.
Now, characters usually, when they enter play in Disney Lorcana, are not able to challenge, but Maui has this rush keyword. It's incredibly powerful. Is able to challenge into that castle straight away.
Yeah, one of the most powerful cards in the game since set 1, being a 5-cost inkable character, and just rush, such an important and powerful keyword. We're going to ink a Maleficent Sorceress, and down comes the Kuzco Wanted Llama and a Rafiki Mystical Fighter. Just
I want to draw
spreading to the board.
attention, Baker, as well to the dice there that was on Kevin's hand there. It was a dice which read 3 as they place their hand down, which is just to inform their opponent that there is 3 cards in my hand. You don't have to ask me. In Emerald matches, I always find, how many cards do you have in hand? How many cards do you have in hand?
Yeah, for sure.
But Kevin just displaying it not only for their opponent, but also the audience at home to say that there's clearly 3 cards in hand at that moment in time.
Yeah, we appreciate
really cool
that.
to see.
There's 2 rabbits. He's got a friend on the other side, so if he wants to dig more, then he certainly can. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 ink.
This Be Prepared top deck from Reece was absolutely crucial.
Yeah.
If the Be Prepared was not the exact top card of the deck there, I think Reece was doomed. But it's given them a chance to make a bit of a comeback. Friends on the other side, sang by Merlin Rabbit.
Yep.
Drawing 2 cards and no ink spent.
Goat and a fox. Those are good cards to have. And we've still got ink to play with. Are we can see the goat come down this turn?
Here's the thing. The longer usually the game goes on, the more you would usually favor Ruby Amethyst. But the card disparity in hand is humongous thanks to that Ursula Deceiver of all. It's a Madame Medusa and a rabbit in hand, which Kevin sees, so is not able to discard a song card, but has the perfect information of exactly what Reece has at this moment in time. The goat enters the board as well, bringing Kevin up to 14, just 6 away now, Baker, from victory. Now, are we going to see another Be Prepared top deck, Baker? That would be quite something.
This is the moment to find out. I think did we see it was only 3 copies in the deck? Let's see.
Now, Kuzco could also challenge into the rabbit as well. So there's a couple opportunities. So Kuzco could challenge rabbit, sacrificing itself to try and find that Be Prepared off the top again. Kevin is like, please not again, not the 7, but it's going to be the Madame Medusa, removing the Merfolk. I do wonder if there was an argument there for Reece to challenge that Kuzco into the rabbit just to see if the Be Prepared was on top. Goes for that now. I would have liked to have seen that
the other way
order
round.
the other way round. Now, it doesn't end up mattering at all because it wasn't Be Prepared on the top, but if Reece drew into that Be Prepared there, they probably wouldn't have wanted to go for the Madame Medusa.
No, absolutely. That would have been the play. But again, these guys have had a long weekend of Lorcana. They're playing so
Just
well.
a very, very subtle thing, and it didn't end up mattering.
It's worth mentioning, though, absolutely. No. It's absolutely worth mentioning to players at home, to something to bear in mind. But yeah, like, they've had a long weekend of Lorcana. It's really tense. I can understand
and
his
it looks
mindset,
like
but they're
Kevin
shuffling
takes
up.
it. Yeah, and
we are going to a game 3.
At this moment in time, the Madame Medusa just wasn't enough there for the for Reece to stay in that one. So I would have loved to have seen that Kuzco just trading in, trying to find the Be Prepared, because I think at that moment in time they had to draw Be Prepared or it was over. So didn't matter at all because Be Prepared wasn't on top, but very still, it really just shows you the skill ceiling that is involved in this game, that even at the very highest level with the very best players, it's not easy to play this game optimally at all. I think when I first started picking up Disney Lorcana, I was like, okay, the deck building is incredibly deep in this game, but maybe the gameplay is quite simple. No, that is not the case. Not only is the deck building incredibly deep and complex, but also the gameplay. So many decisions to make. Even from the very first turn, deciding what card you ink is a huge huge factor in these games that can be the difference between a win or loss before you've even played a single character onto the board.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. But I am thrilled to see this come to a game 3 because two fantastic players with brilliant decks. And yeah, I mean, it's worth mentioning that little interaction there where I agree it would have been nice to see it the other way round. And yeah, just worth it for the players at home. But these guys are at the top of their game. This is game 3. Who is going on to the finals of the Disney Lorcana Challenge Lille? Let's find out here and now. The Mulligan stage, getting rid of that Madame Medusa. We don't want to see that yet. Throwing the Fox as well. I do see a mini always classy for the 1-drop, which we like to see. Looking over at Kevin's hand, there is a Cursed Merfolk for a 1-drop, which I dare say he'll be tempted by. There's a Snake for turn 2 if he wants. There's a Crab if needed. That's a pretty good hand, to be honest. The Rabbit's nice. Might throw back the Mother Knows Best. Does he want to dig for the Ursa the Deceiver of all? I mean, he got so much advantage off of it in that last game, being able to sing Friends on the Other Side twice, drawing a total of 8 cards, which
Before they start, Baker, what I do want to just check, it's possible, had Reece already played all 3 Be Prepareds in that game? Because if that was the case, then if Reece had already played 3 Be Prepareds,
I saw 2.
Then of course there was not any, what I'm saying is not actually relevant at all. If there was no Be Prepareds available, I think there was at least 1 left in the deck.
I only saw 2.
I do just want to add that it's possible we're overlooking something there and that Reece might have already had all of the Be Prepareds in the discard. I don't think that was the case, but I do want to just mention that. Anyway, let's move on.
You're right to bring it up.
The Minnie Mouse enters the board for Reece. It's their favourite turn 1 play. We know that. This Minnie Mouse doesn't look intimidating, but in Reece's hands, the Minnie Mouse is definitely an absolute menace.
Yeah, always questing, always gaining advantage. I don't see a Teeth and Ambitions this time round.
Now, Kevin does have the Rafiki available. I might be able to see a Merfolk there as well. Rafiki gets inked, and it is a Rafiki that's played. There is no Merfolk. There's a Rabbit in the mixer.
Oh, he mulliganed
it is?
Yeah,
no,
there is a Merfolk.
The Merfolk goes down onto the board as the turn 1 play. The Minnie Mouse quests.
I was going to say, it was in his opening hand. I'd be surprised if he'd have thrown it away, but yeah,
Friends
we can see
is
it thrown
inked.
down.
This is probably respecting the potential of a turn 2 play of Ursula Deceiver for Kevin. Kevin's going to draw.
Yeah, because with that Snake on the board, if he does play Ursula Deceiver of all, then all it's going to take is a Pinocchio, and then he will be able to deal with it.
Is there a Pinocchio in Reece's hand? Do we know? Because that would be a huge
Not that
deal.
I've been able to see, but again, he's doing a good job.
Try and keep track of that.
He's keeping his cards very close to his chest.
Keeping us guessing.
Yeah, no, I respect it. The Cursed Merfolk is going to quest for 2.
Kevin takes the lead. I would imagine we might be seeing a Madam Mim Snake bouncing this back if Kevin has it available. If not, though, and it is, you can see it there at the top of Kevin's hand. Kevin, of course, could go a different route, could try to develop a wide board at this time, play a bunch of 1-cost characters. Ursula Deceiver is inked, and the Madam Mim Snake is what's played. Perhaps Kevin deciding to ink that Ursula Deceiver after seeing Reece ink the Friends the previous turn. And there's Minnie Mouse on turn 3 again. No questing from the Madam Mim. Why is that, Baker?
Because he wants to keep it safe, because Kevin could just go into the Snake with his own Snake, and then if he plays his own Ursa Deceiver of all, then there's nothing on the board to remove it. So
absolutely.
I think that's absolutely the right play.
Yep.
You want to be prepared. No pun intended, you want to be prepared for the Ursa Deceiver of all, so
absolutely.
No point giving it up.
Yeah, usually here you would be quite happy to quest with the Snake, force your opponent to trade into your Snake as well, as we see the Flynn and Merfolk go down from Kevin. But if Reece was to have quested with the Mim here, then Kevin could also trade out the Mims, as we see Friendsong, and then the Ursula Deceiver of all would be safe from a Pinocchio.
Yeah, for sure.
So it was a really good decision from Reece not to take that quest. The Mini, not only can she quest for 2, she can also sing Friends on the other side. These players are playing very quickly. The untimed round doesn't matter as the Queen's Castle enters the board on turn number 4 for Reece.
Reece putting the pressure on right from the beginning, going to force Kevin to start making some plays. He doesn't want any passiveness going on here. Nope, here's your castle. Come and deal with it.
But
go on.
I think a big difference in this one is that the Crab is available here for Kevin. However, the Crab giving Challenger 3 to the Snake is going to mean that the Snake can deal 6 damage only. It is not going to be able to deal 6 into... You need 7 strength total to remove that Queen's Castle in one swoop. But of course, Flynn Rider could finish the job. You'd rather be questing for 2 with Flynn Rider usually, but certainly a nice play for Kevin to remove this castle as quickly as possible. And again, that is why we've seen really Emerald Amethyst being the more competitive, higher performing deck this weekend, because of this bounce package being able to deal with things like Queen's Castle, where Steel really can struggle dealing with this Queen's Castle. The Tinker's getting inked, And in comes the other Tink,
Tinkerbell.
and it gives evasive
That's
to the Madam Mim,
fantastic
and it
play.
removes the Minnie Mouse. A
Immediately able to take it
huge
out.
moment in this game. The Tinkerbell is in the deck for exactly that reason, for this matchup, to deal with the Minnie Mouse Stylish Surfer. A huge momentum swing in Kevin's favour.
Yeah, that Tinkerbell's so diverse. It can just be a really aggressive Questor, or exactly as you say, for that exact interaction right there, because Mini Stylish Surfer is so powerful, then just immediately dealing with it as long as we've got 3 strength character, which with that Madam Mim Snake, we certainly do. Reece not happy to see that, looking through his hand. The Queen's Castle is still on the board, so it has given him a 2 lore bump. I have noted there is a Be Prepared in Reece's hand. We're not at that point yet, but just worth noting that it is available if and when he needs it. I mean, that's a rabbit at the top there as well if he needs to dig, but definitely some challenging needs to go on here. But then he's discarding all these cards. How many ink is he at right now? Is it 5?
Yeah, I think it's 5. We saw the Queen's Castle come down the previous turn. And
yeah, so it's 4, but he just hasn't inked. He just hasn't inked yet for the turn. So, but the thing is, like, as much as you would prefer to play Be Prepared so you don't have to discard cards, can you afford to wait 2 turns and let this Curse Merfolk and Flynn quest for 2 each twice? I don't think so.
That is the dilemma that Reece finds themselves in, and that is the power of the Curse Merfolk and the Flynn Rider, not only questing for 2, but applying a lot of pressure onto Reece's hand. The Flynn Rider's removed from the board, and Reece is forced to discard the Be Prepared. And that might not be the only thing that Reece is discarding this turn, but instead decides to move in both cards into the castle.
I like it. Take out one, just mitigate the damage a little bit, but then because you know you can't just keep discarding cards, just invest in otherwise in putting characters at the Queen's Castle so that we can draw more cards, because he knows he's going to have to discard eventually to go into this Cursed Merfolk unless he can draw another Be Prepared and deal with it that way.
In comes the crab.
There you go.
The Mim and the Tinkerbell can remove the castle due to the extra Challenger 3 that was given to the Mim. The Merfolk's going to quest for 2. Kevin is in a dominant position in game number 3.
Yeah, this is looking really good for him. Again, first game, Reece, that double Queen's Castle put in so much work, but Kevin was able to take advantage of it game 2, and then game 3, he had the crab to answer it pretty quickly. And the Lorga bump would have been nice, but I'm sure what Reece really wanted there was the double card draw. See, they're always classy. Again, I've been struggling to look at Reece's hands. Plays very close to his chest, which I respect.
What I want to say is very interesting. We haven't seen in this game number 3 here Kevin utilising Ursula Deceiver of All, but still managing to get in a dominant position, largely in part due to that Tinkerbell Madam Mim Snake combo. Medusa comes through. Goodbye, nice. Tinkerbell. Into the discard she goes.
Yep, good play. Remove another aggressive Questor from the field, and again with that evasive, he wouldn't have been able to deal with it in many other ways. So once again, Madame Medusa really earning her keep in the Ruby decks.
The Maleficent is going to remove the Madam Mim Snake from the board, both cards going into the discard as well.
I'm feeling a bit better about questing with the Snake now that he's got the Madame Medusa on field, because if we do see an Ursula Deceiver of All, we can still remove it if we have the Pinocchio, which I'm not sure if we do have, but it's just important to keep those lines open to ourselves. We see a rabbit coming down on Kevin's side of the field, drawing a card, which I believe is a fox. There's a castle and a merfolk. So he's holding a fox, a castle, and a merfolk at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 ink. So a couple of ways he could go here. I don't think castle on this turn is the play necessarily. Yes, you could take out the snake this turn, but there's already Medusa there, and then all it's going to take is a Madam Mim Fox to finish it off. So that doesn't feel like the safest castle play.
The merfolk quests for 2, bringing Kevin up to 10. And still Kevin's turn, just deciding what else they want to do. Goes for the Merfolk. That is a very scary board if you're Reece.
Yeah,
we saw a Be Prepared.
I'm scared of it, and I'm not even in the game.
We saw a Be Prepared being discarded.
It was.
Kevin, we saw in the previous game, taking that Ursula Deceiver on turn, well, just before the Be Prepared could come through, isn't able to check for it, but it isn't available for Reece. There is no Be Prepared available. In comes the rabbit. Kevin kind of gives a little nod, I think knows that the fact that Be Prepared did not come through this turn means they're in a very strong position indeed.
Yeah, it definitely would have come down that turn if it was there, so nice little check from Kevin. Okay.
Now this is what Reece was looking to do with, oh no, there's still cards in hand, so forced to discard the Jim Hawkins, we do finally see it. It looks like a foil Jim Hawkins as well.
Very
we haven't
pretty.
seen an enchanted card on the main stage yet today, I don't think, have we?
No, did we yesterday?
Maybe not.
I'm sure some players out on there
I've
in the
seen
field
I've
did.
seen them as well. I've seen them. Even in the top 8, there was an enchanted on the table. So maybe in the final we might get to see
We
one.
may finally get it. And mate, if they don't have enchanteds, then the winner's going to win a whole bunch of them.
Yes, that's true. That is very true. Okay, Kevin, 10 lore away. Reece, 15 away. So Kevin certainly in the lead, but Reece is starting to get a very scary board. And honestly, kind of surprised at how Reece has managed to mount the comeback here. It looked like they were a little bit doomed without that be prepared, but suddenly things are looking a little bit different.
Yeah, no, I think Kevin's in a really good position. Although last game Reece did top a be prepared, maybe he can do the same thing. But he's already got a nice board himself. It would leave him with nothing. So, yeah, Kevin's looking really pretty right now. This position feels good.
It is still anybody's game. You have to say Kevin the favourite at this moment in time, but Reece definitely not making it easy for them.
Oh, for sure. These Ruby Amethyst decks are no joke. They can make great comebacks. So I don't think it's over, but I do think Kevin's probably feeling fairly confident right now.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Kevin taking their time. We're about 43 minutes into this game. It is untimed in the semi-finals.
Gives Challenger 3 to the Merlin Rabbit, who's able to trade into the Madame Medusa as a result. Can draw him another card, and now that Cursed Merfolk
Are we going to see it bounce back? We absolutely are, utilising the power of the bounce, replaying the Merfolk, and it's readied and cannot be challenged by Reece. Unless, of course...
Pinocchio. Yeah, no, this is looking real good. We're keeping his character safe. He's already at 12 lore.
Pinocchio could still come through. It's a Minnie Mouse who's inked, 3 ink left. And I think it's a Medusa for Reece as the last card. So it's back on over to Kevin, who is just 8 lore away from the grand final.
In the finals of the DLC.
On home turf as well.
On home turf. It must feel good. But he can't let it go yet. Needs to keep his bearings, see it all the way through. But the hand's looking good. Friends on the other side if he wants to dig for more pieces. Queen's Castle probably not ideal right now. But as soon as he feels like Reece isn't able to deal with it, that could be the finisher. Madam in Fox.
It's actually the second time we've seen this matchup over in this tournament on the broadcasting table. And we did see Emerald Amethyst taking a 2-0 victory in the Swiss rounds.
That's right,
so while Reece struck first, Kevin definitely has been staying poised and confident throughout.
Fox takes out the rabbit, manages to survive, only taking 2 damage. The Cursed Merfolk going to Quest and bringing up to 14, and that victory is within reach.
Absolutely, especially with goats in the mixer.
Yeah, 100%. That Fox probably not living up past this turn. There are a couple of characters on Reece's board that can deal with it. He's going to ink friends on the other side.
Which I love. Bouncing back the Merfolk again.
Yeah, just keep it safe.
Just making it so difficult
there's the
as
castle.
The castle comes through.
There's the castle. I feel like this could be... I feel like we're approaching the end here. It's going to depend what Reece can top here. It's a Rafiki. I'm not sure if it's good enough. Is there anything in his head? There is a Fox, so we can deal with this castle. That will most likely happen, I imagine. The Rafiki goes into the castle, and the Fox comes. Well, the Rafiki into the castle. The rabbit, if it wants to go into the Fox, it wouldn't survive because I think he wants to bounce this rabbit back to his hand to draw more cards.
Yep.
So it might be just a matter of having to quest with the rabbit, return the rabbit to the hand with the Madam in Fox, and Fox and Rafiki doubling into the Queen's Castle to finish it off.
I think at this moment in time for Reece, they can't really afford to leave this Fox on the board, even just a card which quests for 1. Every lore at this point matters for Reece, and even though they would love to bounce the rabbit back for card draw, they might be forced to just trade it out for the Fox.
You might be right.
This is definitely a very interesting decision for Reece. They've got a few different options. They can quest. They could, of course, challenge the Fox. They could, of course, as well challenge the Queen's Castle, but does go for the Madam in Fox. No. And that is because of how Kevin is just so far ahead in this game at this moment in time, threatening to get that ever closer to 20. Every lore matters. The castle is gone, but this Mim Snake can, of course, quest out the next turn, even for just 1. The Merfolk is in hand, which Reece knows, but double Rafiki played by Reece.
Is that the whole hand played down? I believe so.
Might be one card to the left.
Is that his hand? Yeah,
there's a couple of cards.
Oh, it's 2 cards. He's just holding them close together. Come on, let's see, Reece. Let's see. You're teasing us. But Kevin is so close to game now. He doesn't want to make a mistake now. He's got the Cursed Merfolk. There's a goat in hand as well, which is going to make a nice finisher.
Yeah, we did see when the rabbit left play, of course, it does still draw a card for Reece as well.
Yep,
so that's likely why we were feeling a little bit confused there.
What? Yeah.
Everything
100%.
happened quickly. We see the Merfolk. That is... We see the Friar Tuck. It's my first time finally seeing Friar Tuck. The whole tournament, I haven't cast a game with Friar Tuck in any one's... It's not a Friar Tuck. I'm talking absolute rubbish.
I didn't think there was even one in the deck,
no,
so I was very confused.
I got very excited thinking
fine.
I saw Friar Tuck. Of course, Friar Tuck more with the Prince John styles of deck, which we usually see with Emerald and Steel. I got very excited thinking I saw a Friar Tuck.
One day, my friend, one day.
I know. In comes the Merfolk.
The Snake just quests,
Not
bringing
quite.
him to 15.
Kevin just thinking it through. There is a goat in hand.
Because the thing is, he's got to be worried about the be prepared as well if he wants to fully... He doesn't... Part of him probably wants to fully extend here to just race, but if it's followed by be prepared, then he's still very far ahead, but Reece could make a comeback. Yeah, he's a way off. He is a way off, but Kevin needs to respect the power of the Ruby Amethyst deck and what it can do.
Kevin has time here. They don't have to overcommit, but they do go for everything out on the board.
Predicting there's no I don't hate it. I don't hate it at all. I think sometimes you just have to take a risk and play to win.
Kevin is 4 lore away. They can quest on the board for 4. Reece is readying all the ink. We have very little knowledge of what's in the hand, but everything quests. Is it going to be the B prep? It most certainly is.
Oh, the big red button comes down.
But the goat leaving the board is going to put Kevin up to 17. 1 card still in hand for Kevin.
Inking the Rafiki.
2 cards now in hand for Kevin.
We have an Ursa Deceivable and a Mother Knows Best. I mean, that is a little combo, but it's not gaining him lore, but at least it's going to help him control the board if Reece now does find a way to extend. There's the rabbit. Probably not something he wants to target with Mother Knows Best. That's
the goat as well.
Or that. This is what I mean, like the Ruby Amethyst, the combat
Mother Knows
potential.
Best is not great into the rabbit and the goat, is it?
That's exactly what I mean. You just be giving him more cards and more lore. Kevin needs to draw a couple of good cards over the next couple of turns, or Reece could make a comeback.
Okay, so what we might see here from Kevin, we might see something unorthodox, which is the Ursula questing, and then using the Mother Knows Best to bounce their own Ursula back, just to replay it readied and quest again for 1. We're going to see the crab first.
Okay.
This is where the Mother Knows Best can feel a little bit awkward here for Kevin. However, they could still go for it. Decides to not do anything at all.
Yep, just the crab going down and then passing over.
I think Reece is going to be pretty happy. It is anybody's game. Kevin's still within touching distance.
Yep, it could.
Friends being sung. And suddenly Reece has the complete advantage in terms of cards in hand.
And this is exactly what I'm talking about. The ability of Ruby Amethyst to just rebuild its hand back up, courtesy of rabbits, friends on the other side being sung, or bounce cards. So as close as Kevin is, it's definitely not over yet. There's the Mana Medusa to take out Ursa Deceiver of all. This is Reece's moment. He needs to take advantage of this and pray that Kevin doesn't find too much. The crab could quest for 1 if it wanted. Was that an Ursa Deceiver? It was an Ursa Deceiver.
It's not a great hand for Kevin, I have to say. Not much questing going on here. And with a bunch of cards, I think Reece might have 1 card still in hand here, but with this Mana Medusa on board with a bunch of ink available, something like a snake or a fox would allow Reece to potentially bounce that Mana Medusa back into hand and replay it the same turn. It looked like Kevin was in a dominant position. It's Ursula. They see the card. It's a crab. That is not going to be discarded.
Oh, man, my villainous little heart is a pumping. This is tense. These are big stakes.
Let's not forget, Kevin has 2 lore on the board to quest with in the following turn. A goat off the top could potentially still be winning Kevin the game here.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, the power of the Amethyst package.
Reece is 9 lore away. One problem with the characters they have on board is they all only quest for 4. So Reece is threatening to get to 15 lore next turn without any bounce tools on that rabbit or goat.
Oh, this is so tense. These players are living and dying by their top decks at this point.
We see the weakness of Mother Knows Best is that uninkable song card as well. Kevin, any other song really would have felt like in a great position, but Reece did a really good job of nullifying the potential value by having bounce targets. We see all 4 cards quest for Reece.
That brings him up to 16, I believe, 15.
It's a Minnie Mouse, Stylish Surfer, and a Crab.
Kevin
needs a goat. Goat for the win. Goat for the win. It's not a goat.
I don't think I think that's it. Reece has enough characters on board, right?
It's not a goat that Kevin needed, but the Mother Knows Best could potentially do something, but it looks like it might be one off for Kevin. And I want to mention this, Ursula Deceiver of All did not quest at a moment as well and was removed by Medusa. Admittedly, the Medusa likely would have removed some other ready character, so it might not have mattered. There could have been one lore gain there by Kevin, but again, Medusa likely would have been used on something different. Crab is going to remove the rabbit, which also means, therefore, Reece is going to draw a card.
Does survive the hit
Ursula
as well.
now has 4 strength this turn if it challenges, as it was given that challenger 3 by the Crab.
Still has 5 lore on board, 2 from Stylish Surfer Mini and 1 each from... no, even more than that, 6 lore on board. Missed that Crab for a moment. I don't think Kevin has an out to this.
I think that Kevin is not able to overcome the comeback. Oh, but the Mother Knows Best.
1, 2... Okay, he's bought himself a turn.
That is huge if they've managed
But
to stall for a whole other turn.
If Reece can find Goat, he still takes it.
It is not over yet. Doesn't challenge with the Ursula there.
Wants to quest a game next turn.
Doesn't, and Kevin just decides, okay, if you have the Goat bounce, I'm losing here, but I don't think you have it because they just checked the hand with Ursula, of course. Fascinating ending to this one.
That might have
no
saved
cards
him.
in hand for Kevin. The Crab leaves the board.
Yep.
Ursula, Deceiver, given the challenger, that's not going to matter at all.
Because that's the thing, if these Ursulas are challenged, they could have been taken out and then Kevin is far off, whereas if they survive, a Goat is still an out to win the game.
What a fascinating conclusion to this matchup in the semi-finals. Tremaine comes through. Ursula is removed from the board. And that...
Does he have any cards in his hand, Kevin?
No cards, and that means a Goat is not going to be enough for Kevin. Even a Goat off the top here is not going to be enough.
It would need to be Goat bounce.
And it's not a Goat. It's
and
game over.
The hand.
Reece pulls out the miracle comeback. Ruby Amethyst in the final. Emerald Amethyst sent home. What a series.
What a game that was. Genuinely, my little heart is a thumping. Though I honestly thought that Reece was gone there. I thought that the EA Tempo player had everything they needed. But again, just the power of Ruby Amethyst helping him catch up and just snag that victory.
Reece finding those Be Prepareds at the perfect moment. We saw in the game 1. The turn 6 Ursula to try and discard the Be Prepared, but Be Prepared was on the top, and the Be Prepared came through later on again. It looked like at that moment in game 3, when Be Prepared wasn't found in time, that was going to be game over, but somehow Reece just managed to mount that comeback, and it was just so tight, one law being the difference in so many
I can't handle the pressure,
games.
man. This is stressful.
It has been so much fun, and of course, up next we're going to be seeing Reece from the UK in the finals of Disney Lorcana Challenge in Lille.
I feel exhausted just watching those players play that game. Amazing. I really thought the EA Tempo had it, but no, Ruby Amethyst with that incredible catch-up. It was so close. It was relying on the top decks. What an incredible game. I want to say congratulations to both players on an incredible game there. Nothing to be ashamed of. You made the top 4 of the DLC. You got your Mickey Mouse Golden serialized card, but only one can go on to the grand finals and compete for the championship trophy.
Also, just so everyone's aware, I'm actually cheating. Like
He's been cheating all day.
Baker's so much taller than me.
He's been cheating all day. He really is.
He's being nice to me today.
Yeah.
So much fun watching these games. Of course, the next round we're going to watch then, Baker, is us saying goodbye to the glorious metagame that has been
into the
Inklands.
Yeah, no, it's sad. To be fair, it doesn't need to be so for you guys watching at home, though, because you, after finishing watching our stream, can head over to check out the DLC in Atlanta. If you're not quite ready to let go and say goodbye to Set 3 yet, you can head over to Atlanta, see the ending of their tournament. But yeah, after today, that will be it. And for what it's worth, Set 3... Yeah, no problem.
Can you open this pack for me, please?
For what it's worth, Set 3... I salute you personally. What an incredible format that we had. There you go, young man.
Could you finish the job? You've done a half job here.
You can finish it. I'm going to open the... there's 2 in there. You can have the sister.
Congratulations.
Our players are
Very
walking
well
by
played.
just now. You must be absolutely thrilled, and we're very much looking
Good
forward
luck in the
to
finals.
seeing them in the finals. Right, go on.
Okay,
Do
we've
it.
got Hans, the noble scoundrel. We've
The
got
noble
Augustine. We have the plank. I just want the legendary.
I know
please.
you do. I know
Magic
you do.
broom. Oh, I did 2 there. We also got a. Is that the Fates?
Fates,
It certainly
yeah,
is.
yeah. Another
We've got
broom.
Triton's Decree.
Oh, is it Triton's Decree?
It
Yeah,
certainly is.
that's my mistake.
Daisy Duck, not Daisy Tuck. We have the Great Stone Dragon. Li Shang.
Li Shang.
Yep.
Yep.
Ooh!
Very good card.
We don't talk about Bruno, but what is at the back of the pack?
Let's find out.
I didn't get a legendary in like 20 packs here. That is.
It's pretty dire.
Oh,
That's Underworld, right?
I got confused because the rarity was here. I was like, where is it? Oh! And I get Legacy Cannon, RLS Legacy Cannon, a rare in foil.
Is that your 4? Very good. Okay, let's do this one. We've got Tuk Tuk, we've got Record Player, we've got Benja, we've got Luisa Madrigal, we've got Jack, the Titan Argus, we've got Panic. This is the perfect kind of Panic. We've got Mickey Mouse. This is the new Chifu. It's alright, I'll do it for you in a moment. We've got Alma Madrigal, our first tutor.
Okay. Of course he gets the Diablo. He gets the
Everyone
Diablo.
type burb. Everyone type burb.
I thought it was the Enchanted for a second.
And you can have the shiny Emerald Incaster burb.
Your packs are so much. Okay, so here's the moral of the story. If you want good packs, don't get Baker to open the packs for you and then hand them over. Just get him to open the whole thing.
Burb.
The bad luck is, okay, I opened this one myself. Back to back. Oh, we can see there on the very, very well played.
Bravo.
On home turf. What a performance.
Yeah,
really awesome
well done.
to see. Big congratulations.
All right, last pack magic.
Come on, please. I'm so desperate for something good. Atlantica. The Plank. Jetsam gets it right. Megara. Minnie Mouse. Mickey Mouse. Camillo. Look at me go. Rotten Pete, bad guy. Bad guy, rotten guy. Mulan, enemy of entanglement.
Yep, Mulan.
This is like Farlu or something.
It's
Danghu.
Danghu.
Under the Sea.
The seaweed is always greener.
There is a foil still to go.
Let's see it.
Come on.
Let's see it.
Oh,
that's
foil
pretty cool.
Bell. Okay, I'm going to take that foil.
Yeah, that's pretty cool,
super.
right?
This card's really interesting. It is reading. It's a shift 3 Bell in Amethyst, and when you play this character, move up to 3 damage counters from chosen character to chosen opposing character. The mixed ink has changed. More than just the rose is the flavor text.
Super interesting. Works really well with those Ruby cards that do self-damage. I told you that was the end of the box, buddy.
2 boxes between us. Baker got all the legendaries.
What can I say? Pack magic.
Pack magic indeed.
What a day of Lorcana. We are going to be very soon going into the grand finals. Once again, I want to take the time to just say thank you so much to everyone that has joined us via the stream. Again, a thank you to all the players that have turned up for the event, that have made it so special, so magic. And if you've enjoyed watching the stream and seeing all these players play, then maybe that's motivated you to go to a Disney Lorcana challenge of yourself in the future. Of course, there are more in North America and Europe, and I am sure that we will get more announced in the future, more events. So please come on down, join us, be part of this Lorcana family. We would absolutely love to have you.
Absolutely, just having a little exchange of words
just
with one of our players.
Leave. Yeah, very well done.
I was obviously rooting for the Emerald Amethyst player there, just as a biased
Of course you were.
Emerald fan. But we could see, we're going to find out what the result of the other semi-final was, but maybe I had written Ruby and Amethyst off for a long time in set 3, but it's in the final. It's possible we even have a final matchup of a Ruby Amethyst mirror matchup. Alternatively, it's going to be Ruby Amethyst versus Amber Steel Song. So don't go anywhere, because the final of the Disney Lorcana Challenge in Lille is up next. The winner of this next series is getting a complete set of enchanted cards and foil cards.
And a trophy.
And a trophy. So it's set 1, set 2, set 3, right?
I thought it was just set 3.
It might just be, I think it's the full legal set. I think it's everything.
That could be correct.
I
Hey,
think it's
for what it's
everything.
worth, I hope you're right, but at the bare minimum, set 3, if not all of it, and that's a great prize. And that's on top of everything they've already run, the Stout-Hearted Cinderella, the Rapunzel, the playmat. They're going to need another suitcase to go home,
The
mate.
reputation as well.
The reputation, absolutely.
Okay, everybody, don't go anywhere. Let us know in the chat what deck you think is going to be winning Disney Lorcana Challenge. Is it going to be Ruby Amethyst, or is it going to be Amber Steel Songs? See you very soon.